What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down some other important factors out there that you need to be watching for. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15. Anyways, as far as the market is going, just know that SPY pumped very, very nicely to the 609 area. This is the main resistance. We did push a little bit, but now we're coming back down. And I said to watch 608 as the main level. If that didn't hold on SPY, I would have been anticipating more downside. And so far, we're struggling to hold above it, which makes me suspect that there is a risk of more downside that could be coming. Now, excuse me, we had this data that came out. Everything was pretty decent. The non-farm payrolls were quite decent. Unemployment was a little bit above expectations, but the market still pushed upon that coming out, only to turn back down. And that's the reason why I said in my morning video, my first video of the day, I said that I wasn't fully convinced that the move would last, and I didn't fully trust it. And lo and behold, we pumped a bit only to start dipping, and there's still some risk that's developing. After that, we had the Michigan consumer sentiment data. Everything was very close to expectations. This is all decent. That's why the market held up a little bit better. But now it's trying to pivot. So, what is my view of SPY now? What do I think is going to happen? We're going to be looking at this main support around 607.5. If that fails us, the 606 area becomes a stronger possibility. And if that fails, this is going to be dumping a lot more. We have a pre-market gap to fill. It's a little bit hard to see here because I have my pre-market showing, but we basically gapped up upon open today, and then there is still that gap down below. And then on top of that, there's a bearish divergence that's leading to a rejection. If the pre-market low breaks, this is going to be a sign that we're going to pivot and the market's going to see a little bit of a dip that's coming. So as long as we're above this, there's no true confirmation the market's going to see a big rejection and a dump. We could dip a little bit more. I do see that as a stronger possibility, but we haven't lost the support yet. So we'll have to see if that holds. So watch the pre-market lows around the 606 area. We'll see if that holds SPY or not, if we do end up dipping all the way down there. For now, we're just kind of shopping around 608, but there is a risk of us dipping closer to 607.5 or below. So please keep that in mind. For others out there, we have ES. Now, ES is at 6,100. Now, notice that we did pump a little bit above it, but now we're back to it. So I was talking about the possibility of us getting potential pivots around here. We're so far just barely holding 6,100. That's the thing about ES. So that shows that's a tough resistance area. And we weren't able to hold above it for a long time. We just kind of pushed above it only to get, dipped back down. So watch 6,100. If that does not hold, ES could be dipping closer to its 20 EMA on the 30 minutes time frame around 60.93. And that feels we could be dipping back down to about 60.80. So overall, we had a pump and now a dip that's coming. We are still shuffling around 6,100, but if that does not hold, like I said before, we could be dipping a little bit. So be a little bit careful with that. Notice that Bitcoin pumped very nicely into the 99 plus thousand area as we predicted, but now it's starting to slow a little bit. So I am seeing some signs that this could pivot, and we could be looking for essentially the 98,600 area as a potential target if that does not hold. So please be very patient and careful with that level. For other factors out there, I just wanted to say that Tesla Tesla is range bound right over here. We basically respected a very, very nice uptrend. We're making higher highs and higher lows, and we're completely range bound. So we basically have this resistance around 378, and we have support around 370. We're going back and forth and back and forth. Now, with the market potentially slowing a bit, I do think Tesla could retest this 20 EMA at 373. If that does not hold, there's going to be a risk of us coming down closer to where this gap is. So be a little bit careful with Tesla. But overall, for the most part, it's just range bound between the high of the day and the low of the day. We're just stuck between that range. And I think we're just going to continue for the most part like that. But there is that risk of it dipping just a little bit when I look at the fact that we had a high here. We came down, we could be making a lower high here. So it could be a small dip coming to Tesla. So just be very mindful of that, guys. For others out there, we have NQ. NQ and the QQQ are stronger than SPY, but just know this. So we pumped very nicely on NQ. This was stronger than what I even like initially thought. However, here's the thing about this. Despite the fact that we pumped up, we're very choppy now at 21,600. If we lose that, I'm going to be looking at this support right here. It's very simple. So look at where my cursor is, 21,560 around that area. That's the previous high. That's going to be the next main support if we end up losing 21,600. We're very choppy around that area for now. And then for the QQQ, there is one issue. There's a bearish divergence that developed. We did push a bit because tech is holding up nicely. It's about 526, a new all-time high. But now we are kind of toying with the 525 area. So if that fails, I think we revisit this high up here, which is very close to about the support is actually around like 523.8 to 524. That's going to be coming next if we can't hold 525. And then we have our EMAs as the next supports below that. So you guys can see it pumped very nicely. It's about 526, but it's really tough to hold above 526 because it's a very, very tough resistance. And this is starting to show signs that might turn over and start dipping a little bit. So please keep that in mind. For others out there, such as Apple, we pumped very nicely, got this nice liquidity grab, but notice that we hit 244 now. We're just consolidating. We're completely range bound between 242 and 244. So we're not really seeing much going on with Apple. It could dip a little bit lower. It's about the 243.13 area. But otherwise, it's just range bound. Might be a small dip coming, but like I said before, for the most part, we're just range bound. For the IWM, we're a little bit weaker because we're on a bit of a downtrend, right? But notice there's a range between 238 and 240. I think we're kind of stuck in that range for now. If we end up losing 238, there could be a bigger dip coming. So we'll just have to see how things end up going. As far as coin goes, coin is trying to push for the 336 area. Um, I think that we did a good job, excuse me, at pushing. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. We did a good job at pushing to 336, and we'll have to see if we reject off here or not. The supports to watch for is at 327 to 326. We're stuck within a range. So if it turns at 336, that's where the resistance happens to be. This could return back down to about the 330 area. So we want to be a little bit more careful with that. For Amazon, we pumped very nicely to 225. We'll have to see if we hold above that or not. If we do pivot here, we could be dipping back down for about 223.8 or below. So we'll see how well we hold 225 or not. Meta pumped to 630. We'll have to see if this continues to pivot. 625 is going to be one major area. If that does not hold, I think we could be revisiting like 620 or below. So be careful with Meta. Microsoft pumped to about 444, but now notice it's struggling to hold. So there's a risk of it coming down to 442 if that fails us. Google pumped very nicely, but now look at this. We're starting to form like a topping structure here. So this could also turn back down to about 175 or below. So my warning is that we're starting to show some signs that tech might be slowing. Oh, I think I skipped over Nvidia. Sorry about that, guys. Nvidia also rejected. So Nvidia has a head and shoulders like structure. Our main support was at 141.89. With that not holding, there's a risk of us coming down to about 140 flat. So Nvidia looks a little bit more bearish, and I did call this out in my morning video. So be careful, guys. Be careful with the markets. It's starting to show signs that it might start dipping a little bit. We pumped very nicely, but now we're slowing down a little bit. So please be very, very careful with the way things are moving. With that being said, we'll see if SPY will get back above 608 or not. If not, there is going to be that risk of some downside. So please keep that in mind. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update. Until then, have a good day and peace out.